Hoi hoi! It is second round of the Greyhound Derby. I didn't put the third day first round selections up because I'm not really getting much traction, but hey ho, I'm excited. I'm going to do all of round two in this one quick video. I say quick. I like to waffle. I'll go as quick as I can. 16 heats. I'm just going to tell you my selection. I'm going to give you a little bit of a view of what I see in the race. Twitter's got my analysis, quick charts I put together of where the dogs are drawn now compared to where they ran in the first heat. So that's pretty much up to the first bend. Give a bit of a view of how things may play out. There's more to it than just that, like who's going to trap, where they moved, things like that. But it seems to have got a bit of traction on Twitter. So thanks, Davey B, for sharing that. Maybe a couple more of you may watch this video, which I kind of half thought maybe I'll do it. Maybe this is what the people want. They want to hear from Dave. Probably not, but I'm going to talk anyway. So I'm going to go through all the selections for each of the heats, whether you care or not, just what my view is. And that's all anything is in it. It's someone's opinion. That's what the game's about, varying opinions. So feel free to comment below if you want to challenge any of it, or like and subscribe as well to let me know that you do actually like it. And then I'll make some slight tiny reference to those draw bits, just because I've done them and that would be like comments I'd be using anyway. One thing I will just say before I go on to selections about the draw stuff is, because there's so many middle seeds that are drawn in trap one in the earlier rounds, it's because there's so many rail seeds that are thrown into the hat. I still think what they need to do, especially with the first two rounds of the Derby, other competitions maybe don't need it as much because you don't get as many entries, but still maybe worth thinking about, is just have a seed for the dog's trap that they want, so the preferred trap. And if a trainer doesn't have a preference, like 1, 2 or whatever, then make them pick. Make them pick which trap they want their dog to be drawn in. Make them choose which would be fine for them. And I know, admittedly, you could have all the railers decide they want to be in trap 1, but that's not how it works. There's a lot of dogs that probably want trap 3, but the trainer will draw them as trap 1 because they know that 50% of the dogs will be drawn as railers, which means all trap 3s will only be drawn if they're seeded as a railer. Now, you don't really want to be 2 traps away from your favourite preference, but then if you put yourself as a middle seed and you potentially could end up getting drawn in 5, which is what's happened with a couple of dogs in this round, like Warzone Tom's one to mention, albeit he's not a railer. But what do you want? Do you want to be drawn? You want 3 is your favourite box, and do you want to be drawn in trap 1? And then you've got the whole of the inside to yourself, and you've only got dogs out here that you can potentially carve into. Or do you want to be drawn in trap 5, where you want to be inside in 3, but then you just got a wall of all these dogs you've got to try and get past at the first bend? Like, it's nonsense. Just seed your dog as trap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. Draw them out of the hat as that. It's the only way to navigate it as best you can. And then you're still going to have some like draws that could be better the other way around. But obviously, if the trainers have commented and said what their preference for a trap is, surely it should work out. Because how many times do we see 1 and 2 where you'd look at it and say, oh, we'd rather they were swapped over? We'll just seed them 1 and 2 in the first place, and it wouldn't have happened. Anywho, enough ranting. It's not what you're here for. You're here for some terrible, terrible tips. So, Heat 1. I'm way too bullish on this one. So I'll probably be proved wrong. But really like the makeup of this race. Like, I think Ballymac Kingdom wants 2. I think Jaguar Macy probably wants 2 will be okay, but maybe wants a tiny bit off of that. But everything else in this race, just like they want to be where they want to be. So we've got a good chance of having a clear-cut race in here. Just want to touch on the times from last week, because New Jacko was 29.79, but stumbled at the traps. Definitely capable of better. I thought it was a fairly good run. But could have got closer to Drib's edition. Could have maybe run a quicker time. Glengar Bale did 29.30 after bolting out. Signet Ace did 29.42 after showing some deadly early, and Jaguar Macy was 29.23 with what I would consider like her most complete performance, like she's capable of. Ballymac Kingdom did 29.34 with a crowd at the first bend. He was drawn in 4. I've seeded him 2, and he had wasn't terrible trouble, but he had it wasn't clean to the bend, to be honest with you. So with all of that, time-wise, you can see there's a bit within all of them. Like they're all fairly close-ish. I'm going to go from 5 down because, like I said, I think they're all drawn with, like it should all be okay. But 5 is capable of quicker out the boxes, and I think he's got some reasonable early, but I don't think he's like lightning quick to that first bend in Jacko. So he is what he is. I don't think he'd be winning this heat. Glengar Bale was so good in that race where he beat Ballymac Ariel, and obviously once he gets on the bunny, he's very, very difficult dog to pass. But can't see him trapping quite as well as that again. And sectional wise, he did 4.17 with everything going right. Signet Ace did 4.19, which was slower than his trial of 4.14. So I see them two pacing to the bend together. just different beast with Glengar Bale. I actually fancy Signet Ace to lead out Glengar Bale. Jaguar Macy, as I say, I think got everything right last week. 421. So we'll be in and around that sort of section. And again, I think if it gets everything right, but ain't going to be any quicker than that. Ballymac Kingdom was 425, and I think potentially he could have been a bit better than that if he's drawn in like a more preferred slot. So I can see Ballymac Kingdom and Jaguar Macy going to the bend-ish together. I can see Signet Ace probably leading up, and maybe just getting half a length up on him at the first bend, maybe even up to a length to run into that first bend. Glengar Bale, I just question what's going to happen, and maybe Glengar Bale and Signet Ace might have a little bit of coming together on that run up. Probably not, but I just think Ballymac Kingdom's got a lovely plot on the inside. I was really impressed with him staying on to actually pick up and win by a couple of lengths as well. We saw lots of dogs that looked like they were going to pick up down the back straight and didn't. We saw lots of dogs that got close but didn't quite pick it up. We saw lots of dogs that got trouble where we'd say, oh, there'll be one to watch next time out. But he got the trouble. He was badly drawn as far as I'm concerned. He did 29.34. And I think he could have gone quicker. So he ticks a lot of boxes for me. He's a reasonable price as well. I think he's about 5-2, 3-1 we might get. I think he's a knocking bet at that price. Second heat, Rope Walk Boy is out of the race. This is made up really when you look at it. The Beach Avenue on the wide outside's going to be a short price fav and everyone's going to be bumming him. But I don't see why. Like, he was bitterly disappointing for me down that back straight. 29.73 is all he could manage to do. How he didn't win and go clear is beyond me. From the way that everyone's talking about him. So that back straight pace that I was expecting to see from him just wasn't there. That's his third spin round here. Like, he knows how to run the track. He's won here before. That just put me off slightly with him. Kalara Lion, I think, has got a really, really good draw in one. Like, I don't think he really wants to be in one. He may have won the East Anglian Derby from the track, but I think he'll move off a tiny bit. He's got that lane free to him to the outside of him. He's just got an absolute solo on the inside. Now, he did only do 29.49, but in the comparative of this race, 29.64 was Rope Walk Boy, not even here. 30.20 was Douala Prince, who's done well to qualify. 29.91 was Eichel's first, slow starter and just not fast enough. Luna Rocket did 29.35 and absolutely flew to that first bend. And then Beach Avenue was 29.73 with that bump. So time-wise, Kalara Line's about there. It's just Luna Rocket who's probably maybe a bit quicker, but that's with Luna Rocket doing everything that it needed to do last week. And it does just worry me that the time before that was a length slower sectional to the bend. Actually did get knocked over at the first bend. Now, Eichel's first is a slow start. Beach Avenue's not going to be leading up, so Luna Rocket, you'd think, probably could go and get loose. So would be my biggest danger, I think. Beach Avenue clearly has got ability, but he just disappointed me. I just think Kalara Line on the inside is a fancy. Wouldn't be a strong one, but I'd expect him to win, to be honest. Heat 3, draw-wise in this, it's a race I'm not really very confident in, but Hope's Doggy wants to be middle-ish, I think. Any Name Will Do definitely wants to be rail. Swift Cope was slow out the boxes last week, but is capable of quicker. Probably has the absolute plot draw on the inside. Like, Swift Cope is definitely got a proper chance in this race. Bubbly Magnum pinged last week, doing that again has got a chance, but on the clock I just think potentially improve him, but it ain't going to go much quicker than it did last week. Might not need to, though. Ballymac Arian in 5, again, disappointed me a little bit. Like, I think it just never looked like it was going to get any closer to Glengar Bale at any point. They just sort of stayed the same sort of distance apart from the first bend to the end, I think. I also question if Ballymac Arian had been led up or had led Glengar Bale by sort of half a length, I wonder whether Glengar Bale might have been able to get past, But Ballymac Arian needs to lead. Bubbly Magnum's going to ping. It's got to be challenged for that anyway. Probably maybe just qualification connections will care about. But Ballymac Ariel is the fastest in the heat. I wouldn't be overly confident in the race at all, but Ballymac Ariel is the one that I've gone for just because probably is the fastest and has got to get it right one of these days. Swift Cope, I do think, has got an absolute monster draw on the inside, though. So Swift Cope's got a proper chance. That's the way it goes. Heat 4, Native Maestro would be a dog that gamble responsibly by all means, but if you've done your bollocks in those first 3 races, just empty the bank account on Native Maestro, because even if he misses the kick, he's going to get around that first bend in front unscathed. Betty's Book was good out of 3, but wants to be wider than 3, I even thought, the way that it ran. Ballymac Fair one. I'll get my chart up for where he moved, but Kamiko was a rail seed before, drawn in 1. They've actually changed it to a middle seed. He's ended up getting 4, which obviously isn't the worst place for it to be, but I don't think it wants to be there. I think it probably wants to be 3 at worst. So that's going to move a little bit. I think Ballymac Fair one's probably going to move in a little bit. I do think that Betty's Book wants to move out. Jim Star Elusive, just I don't know really if he's going to cause much trouble. But I think he wants to move in a little bit. Like, he might have a chance to get a run. And Perry's Blue-Eyed Boy on the wide outside, like, he's going to get a chance to get a good run out there. But I don't think 5 and 6 are quick enough. Native Maestro is definitely going to get clear on the inside. He's by far the fastest dog in the race. Like I say, even if he misses the kick by a length, he's going to still get to that first bend unscathed. So Native Maestro, I think he's about 4 to 6. Just have it all on. Like, that's a stonking price. He'll go off 1 to 3 probably. Heat 5. This is one that looks absolute carnage. 1 wants to be in 3 by my book, and 5 wants to be in 3 by my book. 2 wants to be in 3.5. 4 wants to be just probably 4.5, I think. 6 is happy out in 6. So based on those draws, 6 would look like it's got the best chance in terms of draw, but it was so disappointing last week. I know Betty's book stays, but can't have it. Bocco's Belly, and this is what I was talking about before with the draw. I may not have even said this, but with the draw, you like pinch of salt. It's something to use alongside other stuff. In this race, I feel like Romeo Magico can get out a lot quicker than he did last week. Like, he won't perform with a sectional like that again, so he's going to go a bit, isn't he? So he could be okay. Coom Leo moved off a little bit, and I don't know sectional-wise whether he is going to get any better than what he did. So Romeo Magico's got a squeak of doing better. But Bocco's Belly with those 420s, and he showed lots of early pace. Patrick Janssens was pretty keen on him last round. I think he's got a pretty good draw by all accounts. Like, I know that some other dogs are going to move, but Bocco's Belly's one that I've like sort of begrudgingly gone for. Warzone Tom definitely wants to be inside. He's going to be moving across. Luminous Stocks will probably trap in and around the same as him. Warzone Tom will have more early pace, but I can see those two bumping up a little bit. And that will probably do Bocco's Belly a favour, to be honest. I think Bocco's Belly probably is the most likely winner of the race, but I wouldn't be confident in the slightest. Heat 6, Little Amir. Sure, that won a Derby heat last year at Nottingham out of Trap 1, but I don't think it really wants to be in Trap 1. I've got it marked as maybe even like a 3.5er. Shiloh Milo wants to be where he is. 3, Bramble Tony is happy where he is, maybe wants to go in a tiny bit. Magical Silas wants to be 5, I think. Soul Warrior will be okay then. Drumcrow Brent does go wide on the outside. I think Drumcrow Brent is the one to be with here. It doesn't look the quickest heat by any means. And he did 29.70 last week, so like he needs to improve on that time. But he's done 29.54s round here before. He's done 29.60s. Like he's won round here plenty of times. Knows how to do it. I just think some others have got some dodgy draws that's going to cause problems to where they go. I think there'll be a bit of scrimmaging for a few of these other dogs. Magical Silas, I would probably say, is much capable of much better than he ran last week. Just depends on what happens with him up in that run-up. Like, I think he's going to move off a tiny bit, but I think Bramble Tony will move in. So Magical Side's probably got a nice draw in 4, but I've plumped for 6. Wouldn't be really confident in that heat. Heat 7, though. Gaytime Milo definitely wants to be 3. 2's happy in 2. 3's happy in 3. 4 wants to be off a tiny bit. 5 wants to be off a tiny bit, I think. 6 probably wants to be in a tiny bit. So all of that said, like, it looks an okay draw, apart from Gaytime Milo is probably going to move off. Angry Dad was so impressive. Like, left a proper impression with me. If he shows that sort of trapping ability in early paces he did last week, like, nothing will get anywhere near him. I know there's some quick dogs in there. He did 29.31. 5 and 6 did 37 and 39 respectively. But I just can't have it. I think that Angry Dad is the one to be on in the heat. It wouldn't be confident selection, but I think he's the one. Knocknable Sid's the one I've gone for in Heat 8. Just wasn't great. Like, things didn't really work for him on that first round, but obviously qualification was all that really mattered there. He wants to be where he is. 1 wants to be in 1. Queen Beyonce maybe wants to be in a tiny bit, but I think 2.5, 3. Like, she ain't going to cause any problems to Knocknable Sid, I wouldn't have thought. And Knocknable Sid should be in front of her anyway quite early on, and I think he'll be in front of Duke De Niro very early on as well. 4 wants to be wide, I think, 5.5. Frankie's Jet could potentially get trouble if Springmore Sully came out the boxes, because he's slow at the boxes anyway, it shouldn't make a difference. Badminton Connor on the wide outside ain't going to break like he did last week. Did 29.57, but if Knocknable Sid gets out on this bunny, which I think he's going to do, not for catching. He's about a 4 to 6 poke as well. I'd make like Native Maestro of the 2 shorties the stronger bet. Like, he should be a lot shorter than this. But Knocknable Sid's not a bad price at 4 to 6 either. So could be the muggy double for day 1, couldn't it? Moving on to the Saturday, Heat 9. On the draw, Ballymac Slap Up's got an absolute peach, but he's just nowhere near quick enough to take full advantage of that. So you have to line through with that. Everything else is moving about. Like Jaguar Fury, I don't even think wants to be in 6. I've got that as 4.5. 5 wants to be in 5. Sweep the Yard, be okay from there, but may move off a tiny bit. 2 will move off plenty, I think. Highlight Arkle should be okay. Now, again, those lines are only as relevant as what the dogs do at the boxes, but I think Highlight Arkle traps like he did last week will be away and gone. That's pretty much all I can say on it. Like he needs to trap and be gone, and then nothing gets anywhere near him. But obviously, if there's trouble in here, then anything can happen. But that's it. Anything can happen. So Highlight Arkle's a selection, but wouldn't be with any sort of great degree of confidence. Heat 10. I had this one pitched up that 1 and 4 both want to be running out of 2.5. So I think they're going to sandwich 2 and 3. And I think the way that those two trap as well, 2 and 3, that they may get involved in a bit of trouble here. Now, Drum Do It Bingo did trap quite nicely, but doesn't have a bundle of early as far as I'm concerned. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4 are probably going to end up getting themselves into some sort of bunching match. Queen Dolly was probably a little bit disappointing last week, but she's much, much better than she showed there. Like the sectional was not terrible when you read it, but was nowhere near what she's capable of. And she was pushed out a bit wide. I know she still got beat, but she still ran well at 29.85. Where I think that although the comments just say the forced wide, I feel like she had a tough enough race, to be honest with you. Unlock was unreal behind Native Maestro. 29.16. It's sensational, to be honest with you. Just question slightly with that dog. I mean, it's got a good draw in here. Make no mistake about that. I think 5 and 6 have got the best draw of anything on the Saturday early on. Unlock's going to be very, very popular, but I'd give Queen Dolly another chance. That's all I can really say. I think it's a match between 5 and 6, and I wouldn't be confident. I'd be sort of coin flipping it, but I've sided with Queen Dolly. I'll give her another go. Wouldn't be punting, I don't think, on her, though. Heat 11, 1 wants to be in 3.5, I think, and 3 wants to be in 1. 2's happy in 2. So again, with the railings and the seedings and all that sort of stuff, carnage. That's going to make a big, big difference to how this race pans out, because 1, 2, and 3 probably have all got the capability of running quite well in this. There's going to be some bumping between them, make no mistake about that. Lights Out's fairly slow away, and maybe won't cause too much of a problem, but that's, if anything, going to allow Forest Gold to move up further, Jack Solutions to move further in. He's another one that's not the quickest away, so maybe Forest Gold will get away with it, but he wouldn't be the quickest of that trio anyway. Sparta Master, we know that he's a stayer, don't we? Probably got an okay draw in the grand scheme of things here, so he'll be okay to get a clear run. 29.60 with a clear run last week, and I thought he travelled handy enough, so I wouldn't say he's going to get any quicker than that. Bandicoot Sammy, however, I think can trap a lot better than she did last week. 29.51 she ended up with a bit of trouble early on, stayed on nicely. She's the one that I've sided with in here, but with no confidence at all. Pacemaker Ted on the outside's got a nice draw, but he's just not quick enough. I think Bandicoot Sammy should be winning this, to be honest with you, but she does need to just get out of those boxes a bit quicker, but she's capable of doing that, and she's capable of a quicker time as well. So Bandicoot Sammy in the 11th heat. Heat 12, this was a nice looking one, to be honest with you. 2 and 3 want to move inside, I think. 1 wants to move off slightly, but nothing major in it. 4 and 5 are happy where they are. 6, I think, maybe wants to be in a little bit, but it's not going to cause a problem. On sectionals, Mingler's Popeye is probably going to be the quickest out the boxes and maybe to the bend. That's going to cause problems because he's going to want to move across to Roxham Shake, so he's going to have a little bit of bumping, I think. And Drum Do It Bomber's going to want to move in a little bit, although he's slow away, so I don't know whether he might check up in behind him or not. I don't know. Lenson Bocco has a cracking draw, I think, because he's got have a solo where he is, and he's probably going to be capable of leading this field up. Priceless Jet 1 got the job done last week, but wasn't that impressive to my eye. 29.70 kind of backs that up as well, and Bryn Hall All-Star ran nicely, to be fair, but wouldn't be for me. So Lenson Bocco, I think, wins this. Trap 4, I think, fairly straightforward for him as well. There'll be some scrimmage on the inside, I suspect. Heat 13 looks an okayly drawn race. I think there's a few that will move in. 5 will probably move in a little bit. I think 3 will move in a little bit. 2 maybe move in slightly. I went for New in Session in here. Just was impressive last week. I think he's okay where he is. It's not one with any real confidence, but I just think he's the best dog in here. You look at the times of everything else. You've got 29.63 for the top, 29.76 for the second, 30.09 for 4, 29.79 for 5, 30.51 for 6. He did 29.53. Like, he's just faster than all of them. So I've gone for New in session. I think he'll be all right. John O'Hugo's got a really nice draw up on that inside, though, so make no mistake about that. Wouldn't be probably having a bet on New in session because he'll be short enough, I think. Heat 14. Ballymac Wild, one I probably will be having a bet on, to be honest with you. It's quite a competitive race again, which I like, because then hopefully it means that the market's going to be formed, that we'll get a bit of a price about him. He definitely just wants trap one. Now, I know sectional wise and pacing to the bend, he's probably not going to be the quickest, especially not as quick as a Toolmaker Sydney would be to the bend. So we'll just have to see how that pans out. But I think Toolmaker Sydney wants to move off a little bit. Great name that is a slower starter than Toolmaker Sydney, so he's similar to Ballymac Wild. So I think Toolmaker Sydney will have the chance to move off and then probably drive the bend, which will be a massive help for him, to be honest with you. 4 and Rebel, I was a bit disappointed with him behind Angry Dad, but as I say, Angry Dad probably impressed me more than 4 and Rebel. Disappointed me. 5 will move in a tiny bit with him. I think 4 and Rebel probably wants to be out a tiny bit off of there. So could be a little bit bumpy in the run-up between that pair. Swift Edition on the outside, just don't think he's quick enough to be featuring. So it probably is a bit of a match between 1 and 2, and you'd probably argue that Toolmaker Sydney's going to get first run. Doing that, it's going to be very, very hard to pick up this dog, but I think Ballymac Wild can potentially get away a bit quicker than he has done, show a bit more early than he has done. It was a really, really impressive performance from him, I thought, in that first round. So, yeah, although he's got 5 lengths to find on official times with Toolmaker Sydney, and if you consider it was just a crowd at the first bend, like, he's got his work cut out a bit there. But Toolmaker Sydney maybe won't get away with, won't get a 4:18 sectional again, and maybe Ballymac Wild could go a little bit quicker. So probably a couple of lengths to find, but I think he might have a plot draw, and it just could be a bit of luck in running, like whether he can get past Toolmaker Sydney at some point or not. But I think Ballymac Wild is the one that I want to be on in there. 10 pin, Heat 15. This is probably one of the best drawn ones, because a few dogs want to move out a little bit, but I tend to find the ones that move out tend to not cause as much trouble, and they're only sort of half a trap out. 10 pin was pants out the boxes. I was a bit disappointed with him down the back straight as well. Like, I kind of thought he'd pick him up, but 29.51 was a reasonable time. Was so bad at the boxes, you can only get better than that. Deerjet Sydney is capable of sort of flying towards that bend quicker than it has done, and is a genuine concern. But I just think that 10 pin, I want to be on side of him. Like, I think he's fairly solid, but it wouldn't be with any real confidence, to be honest with you. Heat 16's are the final heat. Looks a really nice race, to be honest with you. I've gone for Thorn Falcon out in 6. Now, 1's going to move off a little bit, 2's happy where he is, 3 will move off a tiny bit, but happy where he is. 5 wants to be in, and 4 wants to be out. So 5 and 4, I reckon, will probably cause issues to each other. Depends how well Savannah Domino traps. Thorn Falcon's, I think, is going to have a nice little silo on the outside, I'm hoping anyway. Stays all day as well. Cold as Ice, love the dog. Again, he travelled and turned handy enough for me to think that he probably could have run better than he did, but 29.38 was a good time. Drooper's Edition on the inside, I think he'll be okay, because he'll be quicker out the boxes than Fiora Max would, so if he moves off a tiny bit, it shouldn't be a problem. But he flew out last week, and whether he can repeat that again or not, I don't know, especially with the lure of that dodgy trap 1 box. I think Thorn Falcon just looks fairly solid on the outside. It's fairly boring. Wouldn't be one I'd be punting him, but he'd be the selection anyway. So that's all of the heats for round 2 of the Greyhound Derby and the selection that I fancy. As you can tell, there's some that I'm going to be having a few quid on. There'll be some that I won't. I think first round I had 4 bets. I'd tell a lie. I had 6 bets in the first round. I had 4 winners out of 6. So I made a nice little return on investment. It's hard sometimes to not play every heat or to not try and get involved, because it's thick and fast action, but there's much more information to be gathered from these earlier rounds than there is to be, money to be made, I say. So obviously have your fancies, go with how it is. Be lucky. Let me know in your comments anything that you fancy or anything you disagree with, or maybe even agree with. And up the dogs. Go on, the boys.